Lord, I pray that you take and form and shape the words that I speak. Give them life that only you can give them. Have them carry the power of your truth and the message of your hope to each of us who listen. May these words glorify you and be pleasing to you, O Lord. I pray this in your holy name. Amen. It was supposed to be this great adventure, the vacation of a lifetime. And there were those who had taken similar vacations before, and they knew what to expect. They're going to take a cruise. They're going to be pampered. They're going to have so much food that they cannot get off this boat without having gained 20 pounds. They will not have to think about transportation. They'll get to go to an exotic place, the Mexican Riviera, soak in the sunshine, have all those days out on the ocean. It's gonna be amazing. And for those who have never taken a cruise before, they got the brochures. They read all up about it. They saw pictures of their staterooms and their cabins and their balcony rooms, pictures of where they were going, pictures of the entertainment. It was all written up. It sounded fantastic. And they were thrilled. So, they board they board the boat. Do you call it a boat when it's that big? Ship. Oops. And these are huge Herkin things. They are like floating hotels. They are stories upon stories upon stories high. And they set off on this adventure. There are those who, as I have said, have taken cruises before and they knew what to expect. They were settled into their groove almost instantly. There were some who didn't even know how glorious it was going to be. There was at least one couple that had gotten married that afternoon, and this was their honeymoon trip, a trip of a lifetime, a trip they would remember forever, which they will. Because not very far into their trip, there was this explosion, and the whole ship shook like there was an earthquake. Turns out there was an engine fire. And the result was that the entire ship lost all power. No electricity. Now that would be bad enough if you were up in one of those wonderful balcony rooms with big windows and balconies looking out over the ocean. But imagine what it was like for those people in the little tiny cabins on the lower levels. Their rooms are completely dark. They open the door, they step out into a completely dark hallway. No elevators, no microphones, no refrigerators, no stoves, no anything. And yes, no toilets. There are more than 2 people on this ship. There is grumbling. There is complaining. There is some sense of betrayal that they signed up for what was supposed to be this wonderful trip, and now they have to debate whether or not they should flush their toilet. Now, part of this process is that the sumptuous meals which everybody that ever takes a cruise talks about. They talk about how great the food is, and you eat and you eat and you eat. Well, no refrigeration, no stoves. There's not that much the poor crew can do. And because of the lack of electricity, they are only serving on one deck. So everybody has to climb the stairs from wherever they might be, sometimes many flights of stairs, to get to this one place where food is being served. The line is incredibly long. And that first meal, by the time the people in the back of the line made it into where the food was, the only thing left was lettuce and tomatoes. One of the passengers later said that this was one of those rare cruises where you actually lose weight on the trip. People were not happy. They were grumbling. They were complaining. They were snippy. They were saying, hey, this is not what I signed up for. See, here's my brochure. This is not what I'm getting. As if they can fix it just like that. But the grumbling continued, except as time progressed, there was a change happening. There was a transformation among the people. Because pretty quickly, there were some who noticed. There were people in wheelchairs and walkers who could not get to where the food was, certainly by the time the food was still there or before it disappeared. So they took it upon themselves to go get in line, stand in that long line, and get food for those who couldn't get there. People they never would have talked to on this cruise before. Certainly if the cruise had gone the way it was supposed to, they would never have talked to unless they happened to be sitting at the table with them. Suddenly they take it upon themselves to go take food, climb up and down stairs to feed these people. And there's a group of magicians, believe it or not, on this cruise who were taking it as transportation to where they were going. They weren't part of the entertainment, but they decided rather than just sit and complain, they had all their resources for the show they were getting ready to put on, so they started inventing all these great interactive games for the passengers because they couldn't watch TV. They couldn't swim in the swimming pool because the filter's not working. There wasn't any of the great movies or the other entertainment because there was no electricity. So they created their own. And there started forming a community. Now, yes, there were definitely those who still grumbled and complained and are definitely going to be demanding their money back or some kind of exchange. But there were others that would talk about sitting in the dark hallways at night, outside their dark rooms, and just visiting, telling stories and singing songs with the people that were in the same hallway they were in. Not the kind of thing that normally happens. They talked about the hours they spent coming up with games so that everybody's kids could be entertained without a movie or without a swimming pool or without a whatever. They had this experience. And it's true, they started flying in food. They flew in Pop-Tarts and Spam and other canned meat. But it makes you wonder, Spam. And there are some of the passengers and crew who start calling this the Spamcation instead of the vacation. But they were fed. Their bodies' needs were met. And there was a new thing happening. When they finally got to the point where they could actually flush their toilets, one passenger says she was so excited after 15 some hours of no ability to flush. Her toilet started working. She went racing out into the hallway and proclaimed to everybody, "You can flush your toilets!" And there was a cheer! And everybody ran back into their rooms to flush their toilets. People laughed and they celebrated. They tell the story. Where were you when you heard you could flush your toilet? When the ship finally landed, there were those who still couldn't see anything other than they never got to go to the Mexican Riviera. They didn't get those banquets and feasts. They didn't get the wonderful entertainment. They didn't get what that was advertised on that brochure. They didn't get what they signed up for. And they're not happy. But there's another group. There's another group that was changed. They formed community together. And they said, yeah, it was a trip I'll never forget. But I got to know people. And we told stories. And we were in each other's lives. And it was a good thing. But boy, I'm glad to be on dry land now. It was a good thing to be in each other's lives and to be changed so that you started forming this sense of belonging to each other. This is just a little glimpse, just a tiniest fraction of what the people were experiencing when they heard the word of the Lord come through the prophet Isaiah. They had been in captivity. They had been in exile, holding out this wonderful hope of returning to Jerusalem, of being able to worship in the temple the way they were supposed to, the way they meant to be. They had it all laid out in front of them exactly the way it was supposed to be. They had the brochure. They knew what it was supposed to be like, and now, after all those years, they're back in Jerusalem. And it's not like the brochure. The temple is destroyed. The city is in ruins, and there are those who are complaining. There is some finger pointing. It's because we sinned. It's because of this. It's because of that. But this is not what we signed up for. When God said God would bring us back, surely this is not what God had in mind. God would not bring God's chosen people back to this. It's not right. But there were others that could hear what God was saying through the prophet. Can't you see? I am about to do a new thing. Create a new heaven and a new earth. And I'm not going to do it based on how you behaved these past years. I'm not going to create something out of the form of those who have stumbled and fallen and sinned and struggled. That's not it. Because that's not the relationship I have with you, my beloved children. I am creating something new because I know you. And you are a delight to me. And what I am creating, this new heaven, this new earth, this new way of coming together and being my children, it is as a joy because I know you and I love you. And there are those that grumbled and complained. And there are those that heard the words. And God goes on to say, in this place that I am creating, where you, my people that I delight in, where joy is the shape and form of it, lion will lie down with lamb. And those in those expensive balcony rooms will offer food to those in tiny cabins. And there will be no walls between my beloved children. And there will be joy. For this is what I am creating for you, my children, as a joy. And all the people say, Amen.